Okay, yeah, sound is working. Where is. Okay, yeah. Hi, do you disagree with the background?
Yes, I do.
So, why do you think that transgender people, deserve to live with violence, discrimination, and or illegal erasure?
Well, I should clarify first. I don't think anyone, trans or otherwise, deserves violence. That part of the prompt I agree with.
Okay,
When it
good.
comes to things,
You're not
yeah, when it
insane.
comes to things like discrimination, though, that's a little different.
Yeah. What makes you think so?
Well, I don't think anyone, whether it be, me as a white guy or anyone else, has a freedom from discrimination. Discrimination is merely the result of adults utilizing their consent. If somebody says to me, I don't wish to hire you, or I don't wish to sell to you, I don't want to do business with you, that's just them exercising their right to say no. And they don't need a valid or, an invalid reason to do that. If somebody doesn't want to interact with me, that's fine. And that should hold true for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's more of that they deserve to be, free from discrimination from like things like jobs and stuff,
Yeah,
and like
then
day to day
I don't.
life. Like you don't have to interact with people. I'm not saying that people have to do that. I just think we should. I mean, especially if you're gonna be like being I would say more like discriminatory in terms of like acting negatively towards them, and that's the things that we want to try to avoid. Um, I think.
Yeah, I think in terms of culture, that's bad. I think discriminating for any reason is generally a stupid thing to do. I'm not personally for it. But at the same time, the moment you say that someone has a right not to be discriminated against, you are violating someone else's right to consent, basically to deny consent. Just because they happen to be an employer doesn't mean they should magically lose the right to say, no, I don't want to associate with you.
Well, yeah, I agree with that to some extent. I mean, we have a free society. I mean, most of the Western world, it's pretty much, especially if you're on like a smaller, um, if you're like a smaller business, they tend to have a little bit more freedom over this, for various reasons. But I mean, I don't think it's like it's like a right in terms of being free from discrimination. I think they just deserve it. It's like a respect thing. It's like I don't think that people deserve respect, but I think it's or they don't have the right to respect. But I do think that generally people deserve at least a bare minimum like level of respect.
Yeah, and then I guess the meaningful question here that's going to determine if we have something to debate or not is, do you think the government should step in and forcibly, require that or enforce that? Should anyone be punished for not wanting to interact with certain people?
I If it's just interaction, I have no problem with it. I mean, I prefer if it wasn't the case. And that kind of gets in. This is more of like a. This kind of becomes more of like a political discussion on that point. And I don't know where I really stand sometimes on politics and what the government should do versus shouldn't. I more want to focus on like you know why do people not accept trans people or do they think that trans people don't exist and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to pivot to that, I'm fine with it. And I personally don't really believe the claims of, transgender people. It doesn't mean I have any ill will towards them, but I just don't, I'm not convinced.
Is that based off of like actually looking into it, or is that more just based off of what you've heard about
Oh,
it?
that's based off of looking into it, but it's also based on a fundamental understanding of, language and terminology, definitions, so on and so forth.
Like, I understand that the whole definition of how you could define like a woman as being like an adult human female. I just don't think that definite like how we define things is gonna be a way that it doesn't actually get at the crux of the argument in terms of um, is what these people are thinking valid and reasonable.
Yeah, I think the word valid is wildly abused. I mean, people say valid as, kind of in place of anything. And valid really means that something flows from from the premises behind it. A feeling, that doesn't mean it's valid if you turn it into an argument. If I say I think people with red hair are stinky and bad, that doesn't mean it's valid. It's just some nonsense I spouted.
I was more saying that like some people, from my experience, think that trans people have there's some sort of delusion going on that they're what they're actually they're lying to themselves in that sense. And like I know that trans people don't actually a trans woman doesn't think that they're actually a female. I want to be clear about that. Um, but
Yeah, they may not think that, but at the same time, thinking they're a woman I mean, in order to talk about if they are a woman or not, we need to agree on some kind of definition. So, yeah, adult human female is one, but what I really haven't heard is any meaningful definition other than that. I've had this discussion many times, and it seems that the only competing definition is a woman who is someone who identifies as one. The problem with that is, in order to define something, you have to exclude. There has to be something that is outside of that definition, otherwise, it encapsulates everything.
Do
So,
you identify as a woman?
no, I do not.
Then you would fall outside of that definition. Also, there is a difference between viciously circular definitions and just generally otherwise circular definitions that include more detail in their definitions. I love that you bring up that agreeing on a definition is important because that's very important in the medical field. So we typically tend to reference medical definitions for these things because they use the same definitions. So globally, we can apply the same processes and use the same language to describe research. So that's kind of like where I'm going with that is we have another definition that would be from like a medical field stance and that's kind of where we're talking from. Also, transgender people exist. Hello, I am transgender. That's all I have for now. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, I mean, flat earthers also exist, but that doesn't mean the earth is flat. Just because people exist and they're identified by the claims that they make doesn't mean those claims are true. Catholic priests exist. That doesn't mean Catholicism is necessarily true. Nobody's debating whether or not you people are in existence. We're debating whether or not your claims are factual.
I don't know if Stoat wants to take this or not, but I mean, I have more thoughts if you
yeah,
wanna.
you can go ahead, Cole. That's fine.
Okay. So do you know what a biopsychosocial schema is, Tomcat?
I've heard that term many times, yes.
Okay. So we're talking about science that we can prove in these cases. And when we're talking about gender, we're not identifying as something outside of the human qualia, we're within that. So that would be man, woman, or non-binary of some kind, which has existed for as long as written human history has existed. We have proof of this in even Mesopotamian literature. So we are who we are, and sex and gender being different as they are, the misalignment is all that the label trans is describing. So I think it's important to understand like what transgender means too. It just means on the other side of. So our sex and our gender are on the other side of, or misaligning, incongruent with each other. So I think it's important to keep that in mind as well. Sorry if I'm rambling a bit. I will mute while you speak as well. Thanks for listening again.
Yeah, I mean, again, we can agree that there are people who misalign in that way. It's the discussion really needs to move to, are they correct in what they feel? I know there's plenty of studies showing that they are probably being truthful in what they feel, given that there are, differences in the brain and other measurable differences, but that doesn't mean that they are externally correct. It just means that we can validate what they're saying in terms of they're not just making it up for kicks and giggles.
I think another thing that we could look at is how what we see in terms of treatment. If we're going to be looking at something that's like a delusion, such as like schizophrenia, if we play into these delusions of the what people are either like seeing or hearing, what ends up happening is that these symptoms get worse. If we allow if we talk about if we're talking about somebody who's transgender, the symptoms of gender dysphoria and other things get better. So it's in terms of like the best course of action to take. It necessarily is, all the data suggests that gender affirming care is the way to go. And gender affirming care isn't just surgery. It looks like pronouns, socially transitioning, generally includes some sort of therapy because it is complex when we're talking about these things. And there are therapists who actually understand, much better what, you know, transgender people go through on a day to day basis, along with other things.
Yeah, I would think to that end. I mean, there's a little bit of a cleverness to the way that you kind of phrase that. Yeah, if we give in, if we enable what schizophrenic people are thinking, then their symptoms get worse.
Hmm.
Meaning they continue to believe, they act more upon
I'm
the voices that they're hearing,
interjecting.
the hallucinations that they experience, things like that.
Interjecting because gender is not a delusion. So I do interject for misinformation to correct for
What is a delusion?
it's
Like, what's the definition?
um I mean somebody would have to pull it up. How I would define it is seeing, hearing, experiencing something that is not a part of everyone, like reality, separate from anyone
Okay.
else. Being trans just means that your gender and your sex do not align. We're experiencing again a human qualia that is normal for, like, you knew you were a boy when you were young. You knew you were a man as you grew into an adult. It's the same exact thing for transgender people. Also, sidebar real quick. Stosky host brings up a lot of points that are like relevant to, like, take care of the kids, leave the kids alone, blah blah blah, whatever. But leaving trans kids alone means giving them access to this care. I kind of tend to lean more deeply into it as like, how are we harming you? How are we even, people make the claims that we're harming ourselves by being trans and participating in the gender affirming care that keeps us healthy and alive. So I kind of tend to deep digger. It's kind of up to the guest as to which direction they go in, and obviously Keaton mainly is the host to lead the conversation. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Thanks for listening, and I know I've said that like 12 times now. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, when you say, I very much agree with your, the way you described a delusion, which to kind of shorten it is a fundamental misalignment with external reality, right? Would you agree on that?
Um, yeah, I would generally agree with that.
Cool. So if we say that gender is a social construct, which maybe it is, you can kind of posit whatever terms you want. If we concede that and say gender is a completely social construct, I don't think that makes it arbitrary. It only means that there are social elements to what we categorize as man and woman. Things like appearances, voices, all different ways that we can recognize and put people into these categories and groups. Therefore, even if it is a, social thing, a social construct, if your beliefs are that you belong to a group or that you are something that you clearly do not fit into the social understanding of, I think that would be grounds to call it a delusion. If you don't look feminine, if nobody recognizes you as a woman, if the whole world says, yeah, no, like you're not that, it's no different than believing you're,
Okay.
tall when you're 4'8". That's a delusion because you are not living in line with the external reality.
So I will bring up again that gender is a biopsychosocial schema. you can't exclude any of these things, so you're just focusing on the social aspect of it all, which it changes per society, time period, location, all that good stuff, because part of it is a social construct, but part of it is identity in the brain and the way that we express ourselves to other people and the way that we view ourselves. That's a huge part of it as well that I don't think can like be brushed over, if that makes sense. Um, so just kind of recognizing the accumulation of all these things. I mean, personally, I give the most weight, obviously, to self identity, gender identity, who people say that they are, gender wise. So, name wise, anything like that, you know? It's just kind of a respect thing. So when we look at all of these three things together, you can have the neurobiology of the opposite sex that you were assigned at birth. You can have the psychology of the opposite sex that you were assigned at birth. And you can have the sociology through either hormone therapy, gender affirming care in the form of surgeries or whatever else it may be, voice training, stuff like that. You can have the even social, like you can be perceived as a woman. Not that passing is like vital to be trans or anything, to be abundantly clear, but like you can have all these factors. And just singling out one doesn't really do justice to the wholeness of it, if that makes sense.
Okay, so outside of what someone says they identify as, how could I identify a woman by utilizing your definition?
You would generally want to look at like things such as you'd probably look at the society that they live in currently or have lived in for a while, because that's going to generally inform you on what somebody sees in terms of social roles and dressing and other things. The other way you could do it is you could just ask them to.
Yeah, asking them would go back to the, what do they identify as? So I guess I'm really trying to nail down if we're going to use your definition as a definition to categorize, how would I, from the outside, figure out who's a woman and who's not?
If we're going to use definitions, Stoke can always pull up the Stanford medical definition of this, which I highly agree with. Gender identity is the most important part because you can have femme presenting men and mass presenting women. So who they tell you they are is really like the grounding point in all of this, um, if that makes sense.
So is there any way to identify them outside of self-identification?
There's the definition if it helps.
Yeah, that's from Stanford Medical.
Yeah, so that's going back to self-identity.
Yeah,
So
because
despite all of the, talk about the biopsychosocial schema and all of these complex terms and all of this science and all of this data, it really does come full circle back to someone who identifies as this. And I think that's just not a very functional definition. If an outsider can't use your definition to sort things in and out of that category, then it's functionally useless.
Especially for the folks that use speech to text, are hard of hearing, or are visually impaired. Part of this definition that the host has highlighted right now is including gender roles, behavior, expression, identity, and or physiology. So that's adding a lot of nuances to the definition and not just being circular in that way, based off of identity. So seeing that definition as a whole really helps.
Yes, but the definition also says that it's based on what's important to them as an individual, including those things. It's not necessitating those things. And many trans people say they don't owe you masculinity or femininity or really anything other than their own self-identification. So
Mhm.
again, how is this language functional?
I don't
well,
know if,
so it
yeah.
is functional because it's based off of what society see. It's based off of how society uses the word. This would actually include um, pretty like this definition would generally work for all cultures that have the idea of a woman in it. it is possible that there are cultures. I mean, there are other cultures that had other genders that don't fall within man or woman strictly. At least we would see them that way today. Um,
Yes, but even those cultures would have some kind of requirements, and you could identify them. They had a way of saying this is what they look like, sound like, this is what defines them. Even then, it was different than just this is someone who says they are X. So no, I can't see the full connection to the argument that you guys are making. When it comes to a useful definition, if I'm going to define a car, I have to define it in a way that's different from, say, a motorcycle, so that someone who isn't me and doesn't own a car can figure out which of those two things are which. That's the point of putting a label on something, is so that other people can sort and categorize it. If the whole point of the label is for someone to choose for themselves, then it provides no benefit to sorting or categorization whatsoever. It defeats the purpose of language.
but even like the definition of a car versus motorcycle kind of falls apart because there's many places in the world where there's three or four wheeled vehicles that are clearly enclosed that you only need a motorcycle license to operate instead of a proper car license, and they're classified as motorcycles under the law. So it's clear that these even something as might seem as clear as that. There's clearly a blurry line between them two.
Exactly, and I would encourage you to provide a example of a woman that does not fit into the definition on the screen right now. And that's, uh, I think, how we can productively move forward from this. But yeah.
Yeah, everyone falls into that definition because the definition is entirely inclusive. Like it's not falsely excluding, it's falsely including. That's the criticism here.
I don't identify as a woman based off of and or including gender roles, behavior, expression, identity, and or physiology. So I don't fit in that definition. I don't think the host fits into that definition either of woman. But yeah, again, I would encourage you to give me an example of a woman that doesn't fit that definition.
Yeah, I can't because the definition is too inclusive. If I was saying it was too exclusive or something, then that would be a valid challenge. But I'm saying it does encompass all women, and it encompasses quite a lot of people who are not women also. It would be like saying a car is anything that has wheels. That would include every car, but it would also include motorcycles and unicycles and all other kinds of vehicles. It would include a pottery wheel. It would be a functionally useless definition because it wouldn't help me label the thing I'm trying to label.
Okay, two things. Medical science, all that good stuff, have global definitions so that they can research and evaluate certain statistics based off of the same criteria. And B, there really aren't men that fit into that definition, if you ask me. I mean, I'll let host take it over from here, especially since it's not up anymore, which is difficult for me. But yeah, I definitely think that, again, if you can show us for try number 3. Sorry, I'm not going to be an Ian. If you can show us a woman who doesn't fit that definition or a man who does, at that point, I would be open to discussion on that front specifically, if that makes sense.
And also,
Okay.
hold on. I think let me add some context to this definition too. That might make sense why we define things this way. We as a society, we constantly are making performances out of our gender. People dress up. They act in certain ways. They hang out with other people. And we constantly challenge these ideals and norms within our society. Um, and if you're just defining a woman as an adult human female, you don't get all that context in it. It doesn't really give you information about how we use it in a societal sense. It just gives us the definition based off of like pure biology and age, which is it doesn't really give us information. It also we use our languages for communication, not categorization necessarily, and it's highly descriptive, not prescriptive. So we define words based off of what we see, not the other way around.
At the same time, though, categorization is absolutely necessary to communication. The whole point of using a word is so that I can take an abstract idea. I can take something that exists in my head, a picture, a concept. It could be the entire idea of Christianity. It could be something as simple as a lawnmower. But if I say lawnmower, me and you will think of about the same thing. Now, maybe yours is yellow and mine is red, but by using the word lawnmower, we now have a shared understanding of the subject of conversation. The problem with your definition is that it does not do that. Your definition of woman could be quite literally anything. It's not exclusive enough to hold meaning. So if you want to come up with words that fill the gaps, like I agree with Cole that there's gray areas, right? If we're talking about a cart that's propelled by a bicycle, and you want to say, oh, it's a bicycle propelled cart, I'm going to make a new word. I'm going to shorten it and call it a BART. Great. If you define it concisely, that could be a very useful word because it's now going to categorize something outside of cars and motorcycles. It's useful. I can use that word and we will both think of the same thing. But to get back to my central point here, your definition of woman is so nebulous and vague that we will never be thinking of the same thing.
Then why don't you define woman for us?
Sure, I think it's adult human female.
And if they're okay, I don't want to bring that up as a gotcha. Never mind.
So, what happens? How do you account for societies that would have adult human females who are not women, but another gender category?
Yeah, I would think generally speaking that their categorizations are incorrect. Maybe they have a social categorization, and if they can prove that it's useful and meaningful, I would accept it, but I've yet to see any real evidence of that.
They do. There are places in the world that have third genders that are legally and socially recognized, that are of a certain sex, not relating to their gender. That's why it's a third or more gender recognized in certain societies. I know in India there are some, but I can't remember what they're called, so I don't want to spread misinfo on accident here. But yeah, there are definitely societies throughout all of time, leading back to Mesopotamia and the first writings we have from humanity. Trans people have existed and have been recognized and have been, even in certain societies, like in Turtle Island, aka North America, who have been treated as higher, like in their ability to see and their ability to help their community and all of these things, who have been valued for the fact that they are not a man or a woman. I'm referring to two-spirit individuals, to be clear right now. But yeah, it's always existed. So that's kind of something you're going to have to explain. Why has it always existed if it's not a valid, real, like, thing to you, I guess?
Sure,
To
for the
clarify,
same reason that, ancient tribal religions have existed.
to clarify what Cole was talking about, she was talking about, or they were talking about hijras, which are legally recognized in India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, and there's millions of them. And these are people who would, under your definition, be men, but in their culture, they would say that that's incorrect to label them. They legally are not men.
Okay, then I would say the simple challenge would be this. If you can define them in a way that I, as a outsider, could identify them, then I'll accept that definition.
Um, so that they're generally going to be transgender, intersexual, eunuch, that and they live in communities that follow kinship, um, and uh, they generally are they're generally men or generally assigned male at birth. Um, I don't actually know how they legally define it because that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, that would be for me too. I think they're all, and again, I'll clarify this for Tomcat and anyone of the few of you listening. Um, we don't deny our sex. We just recognize our sex as different from our gender. So like my sex is something that I'd never deny, but my gender is also very important and very real and something that science has proven over time that can only be resolved by aligning the body with the mind. Um, and that's in order to protect, like, I'm a trans adult now. Obviously, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't an adult. But I was a trans kid before I was a trans adult, well before I was a trans adult. So these kinds of things I think are important to bear in mind in order to protect people and keep them safe.
So yeah, India passed the Transgender Protection, or in parentheses, Protections of Rights Act of 2019. It basically allows for self-identification of gender, including a third or hijras as a third gender, and granting them the same civil rights as other citizens.
Okay, could I identify as a Hydra right now?
Yeah.
Then I would say the definition, at least your definition, would be completely useless.
You're not a part of their society. So sorry, host.
I mean,
I would
yeah, there's
argue
there's a societal thing of it, but
because you have to meet that societal factor.
Totally agree.
So having lived in there and actually, like, you could say I'm a woman and walk into the women's restroom, but you're not genuine in that. You're not actually a woman. So we're looking for what you actually are.
How
You
do you
don't
know?
have the experience to be a Hydra, therefore, you not even knowing fully what it is and not having been involved in their culture, you can't say that you are, in my personal opinion.
Wholeheartedly agree. I just think if we apply that thinking consistently, it kind of rules out your position.
I have the social experience and the human qualia of being trans in the US, personally. Um, we have a social setup that was binary and has broken down thanks to queer icons who have fought for us to be able to be who we are nowadays in 2025 here in America, even with all the shit that's going on. Um, and us being able to be who we are is a blessing. I don't have to prove, like, hey, I just have to say I'm a part of a society that recognizes more than two genders outside of the binary, and I can then identify that way if that's true to me. Key last words. If that is actually true to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it falls apart when you say true to me. That's not how any other definition works. If if someone was born male but passes as a woman, they have a case to make. If they never have to tell anyone that they're a woman, if everyone looks at them and says, "Yep, that's a woman," and they never know they were born male, I can see an argument there because then you could say, "Yes, I fit into this construct." Everyone agrees, even if they don't know it. I'm making my own case. But if you have to go around telling everyone what you identify as because they wouldn't otherwise recognize you as that, then I think you're the one that's being disingenuous.
Define disingenuous. Sorry, go ahead. Still.
I was just gonna. Oh, what was I gonna say? Like there's like culture context to these these things that we can actually generally usually you should be able to determine if somebody is a man or a woman. There's also people who are non-binary who fall outside of this, outside of the what we would consider a bimodal structure.
Can you identify them without their self-identification?
Non-binary, I feel like are a little bit harder because I just don't have the experience around them.
Sorry, to interject, as somebody who is non-binary, um, if you're ever wrong about somebody's gender and you assume, which is in most cases, honestly, okay, because we as non-binary people understand that we live in a society that is heteronormative and based on this binary. If you're wrong, we'll just correct you, and then it just takes a little bit of effort on your part to comply with the respect that comes with applying our correct pronouns to ourselves, if that makes sense.
What if I disagree that they're the correct pronouns? What if I disagree with the label that you've claimed yourself to be? How do
You,
we know who's right?
So I remember what I was gonna say. You said that there's nothing else that we go based off of self-identification. There's actually a lot that we do, such as favorite colors and preferences. Like
Okay,
there's
so
no
if
way of
someone
arbitrary.
identifies as a man, but
It's
their
like I
favorite color is pink, then what?
yeah the pink isn't a. I refuse to believe that colors are gendered. Um,
Okay, then I don't understand what your argument is.
so what I'm saying is that my if I say my favorite color is blue, how do you know that my favorite color is not blue other than me just saying that my favorite color is blue? Why would you ever doubt that? Me saying that my favorite color is blue is not the case.
Oh, sure, because there's no means of categorization. There's no claim being made other than something that's purely internal to you. Whether, you saying my favorite color is blue, or I'm attracted to men, or I think Tom Brady is he's my favorite quarterback. It doesn't mean anything. I'm going to believe you because there's nothing that could contradict that. Unless you went out and painted your room red and your car red and just clearly surrounded yourself with red, then I might say, okay, that's not quite correct. But for something like that, that's mostly internal. When it comes to I am a woman or a man or non-binary or whatever it might be, you're making a claim that's external to you. I can compare you to a definition, to other people who fit that definition. It's more like saying I am tall. You can criticize that. Are you tall in your culture? Are you tall generally? Are you by what standard? And we can figure out if I'm really tall or not.
okay, so let's, if it's okay with host,
Yeah, go
get
ahead.
okay, get into the. I mean, I see five main sex characteristics, but I'd like to know what you define sex based off of, as it does seem you don't differentiate between sex and gender. Correct me if I'm wrong.
99% of the time, you would be right. If someone truly passes and I never would have guessed it, then I'll concede. If someone says, actually, I was born a man, but I thought they were a woman, you win. You're a woman, you got me.
So it's all based on passing, it seems like.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
Well, then I would say a lot of trans men are a lot more. I would say they tend to be a little bit more passing. That's just subjective, at least from my understanding. It
I don't
seems
think it's
that
just subjective. It's objectively easier to masculinize something than it is to feminize it.
something. Excuse me? We are people.
No, I'm not talking about humans as things, although all of us are things. I'm not
So
saying,
what were you talking about masculinizing then?
I don't know.
well,
What are you
anything
gonna
for that.
masculinize a water bottle? What do you do? Put a penis on it?
This is the most masculine strongman water bottle ever. Sorry.
No, it's just when it comes to like facial shaping, body shaping, things like that, it's generally speaking, and to the host's point, it's, there are more passing trans men than trans women for a reason. Clearly, it's easier on one side than the other.
That's just because of science. Testosterone is a dominant hormone, whereas an estrogen or a female hormone profile is not going to be dominant over the androgens in the system, which we all have both female quote unquote hormones and male quote unquote hormones at different levels in our bodies at all times, everybody, or you'd be unalived.
Sure. Yeah, we don't disagree.
And you're right, pomegranate passing is subjective. There are cis people that do not quote unquote pass that have been assaulted for using the restroom of what even you would define as aligning with who they are.
Yeah, that's why I would say violence against anyone is bad if it's not in self-defense. We can all agree on that.
Okay, that's good. Do you think discrimination is valid?
What do you mean by valid?
Like against trans people for being trans? Like discrimination includes like correct me if I'm wrong, like quote unquote not agreeing, thinking that we don't exist in some way, shape, or form.
Of course that's valid. I think it's valid for anyone to say, I don't believe you. Convince me. Persuade me. You know, whether it's religion, politics, science, everyone has a right to be unconvinced.
So can I ask a question just for clarification? Um, for you, if a trans woman is virtually indistinguishable from a cis woman, they are a woman. But if they're not, and they're more masculine, and you can tell the difference, they're not a woman.
Sure. I think with some things, or at least to my understanding of language, you know, there's a lot of people on the, you know, kind of hard right that really stick to the pure scientific, you know, XX and XY. And that gets down to the silly debate, and bear with me, I promise I'm going somewhere. But it's a matter of, is a hot dog a sandwich? Right? We can look at the definition. Oh, well, it's meat between bread and it meets the criteria. Yeah, but nobody understands that. The functional test is more important. If I ask you for a sandwich and you bring me a hot dog, I'm going to be confused. So I think the spirit of the law when it comes to definitions, what they functionally measure and categorize, is more pertinent than just outright technical perfection.
Did he answer your question, host?
I did. The first thing I said was yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
They
cool.
did, or he did.
I'm
My
just
bad.
clarifying. Sorry.
Yeah, that was the first thing they did. So, um, yeah, I just wouldn't take that as a great way to define things because like I've been misgendered on the phone before, too. So like even what seems like a normal definition doesn't pass. Like both sides were gonna have people accidentally misgendering people, but um, it doesn't like I don't know. I don't see any advantage to using just strictly biological um, terms, especially because the biology is very complicated when you start really looking into it. Because I know you brought up chromosomes. Those don't define which sex you're assigned at birth. They don't define what genitals you have. They tend to align, but it's not always. There's actually not one single thing that you could look at to that would be able to determine if you're going to have male or female genitalia at birth.
Right, and just to jump in, that is what I was saying. I said some people stick
Okay.
to the hard XX and XY. The reason I don't do that is exactly what you just described.
Okay, sorry, I misheard you then.
But yeah, all I'm saying is, for a definition to be useful, it has to be utilizable from someone from the outside.
I would argue the definition we gave earlier from Stanford Medical. Again, medical associations need to agree on definitions which are, by the way, descriptive rather than prescriptive, but they need to agree on a definition to conduct studies and gather research. So they all have to have the same definition, even if they don't all quote unquote agree with what that definition is saying. So when we look at medical definitions, we're looking generally globally at how scientists see these things. And that helps you kind of understand where we're coming from at all anymore.
Yeah, I don't see how the scientific definition can be utilized to that end. for taking a survey, and figuring what are men versus women's opinions on XYZ, or, let's conduct a survey about what kind of medical treatment they like. Yeah, that's fine. You need to make a kind of axiomatic definition for that, but that's not the same as a functional definition.
Still, if you want to take this, you can. If you want me to, I can. It's up to you.
You can. I know that Summer said that. I don't know their pronouns, so I'm just assuming
She,
they.
her.
She, her. Okay, sorry, I didn't know that. You said that you could answer some of the questions.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, Tomcat, what is your contention with trans women or transgender people?
Sure, I think most of them don't meet any criteria to proving their claims true. I think they're just assertions that are mostly
What kind of
baseless.
criteria?
Sure, I don't think many of them have virtually nothing in common with women and what society understands a woman to be.
Meaning what?
Meaning that they don't fit. Well, let's start with the social, characteristics, or the physical, and not just biological, but the general shapes. The hip to shoulder ratio, the facial symmetry, the proportions.
Would it
things
shock
like that.
you? Would it shock you to know that trans women on HRT grow and have fat redistribution that is going to result in something very, very similar, if not the same, whoa, shocker, as cis women? Sorry, I'll let you go, Summer. I just want to throw
Because
that
if
out.
you're on like hormone replacement therapy or so on and so forth, as you can see, like for me, I'm a trans woman. I've had that fat cell redistribution. I actually pass really well in society.
Yeah. Not sure if I want to go there. That's not going to end well, however I answer. So I'm trying to keep things.
I've already consulted a facial feminization surgeon and so on and so forth, so you can spare me your opinions.
Okay. If that's the case and you believe that this is what you truly are, why do you need surgery to achieve it?
I consulted. I don't need I don't need facial feminization surgery.
Why did you need a consultation?
I just wanted to see if there was anything that they would recommend.
Yeah, the fact that you're going out looking for recommendations, I mean, the kind of steps that you have to take.
And more oftentimes, cisgender people go for these types of surgeries than trans people in sheer numbers.
Yeah, of course, because in terms of sheer numbers, there's a great many more. I'm not sure what that argument is. That.
Even per capita.
But even there, under your logic, why are they?
Yeah.
Under your logic, why are they going for these surgeries then?
Sure, because there's a standard of beauty. And that standard is not purely cultural. There are certain shapes and proportions that humans generally like. You learn it whether you're a plastic surgeon or an architect. There is a such thing as a pretty building and an ugly building based on the way it's shaped and built. Many people recognize that they don't meet that criteria, and they aren't at the, the peak of femininity or, male handsomeness and masculinity, whatever they want to be, and they go out and modify it.
You're trying to set this sort of subscription that women need to be feminine and men need to be masculine.
I think that women are feminine and men are masculine.
But why is it that mask-presenting women are the ones getting assaulted going to restrooms?
Probably because they pass as men, and most people don't want that. I'm not defending any assaults here, so I'm not sure what you're going for.
I'm not saying you are defending assaults. I'm not, in good faith, I'm not saying that you are. But I'm saying that you're trying to set this stereotype when it comes to masculine and feminine presenting and passing that doesn't just apply to trans people, it applies to society as a whole. And because of that stereotype, people are getting hurt. And oftentimes it's not trans people.
Okay. I don't see how this connects. That's bad and terrible, and no one should be hurt.
I am... Oh, God. I don't even know how to describe how I'm perceived in society. In person, typically as a quote-unquote woman, or someone with phenotypical feminine features. At this current point, and I'll share it because Summer's here too. Trans people, we love gender euphoria. I'm actually within reach of top surgery within like a year, and I'm so freaking excited. I've needed this for so long. Anyways,
I'm excited for you, and I'm telling you right now, I am somebody who has gotten top surgery, and it's made me much happier in my body.
it genuinely is amazing. So these things are like, sorry, goddamn ADHD. Maybe I just need to go on mute for a while because I totally lost my train.
You're
What
fine,
were you
Colin.
just talking about, Tom, or Summer, or whoever was
Um,
talking before me?
Summer. We're talking about society's stereotypes when it comes to femininity and masculinity.
Exactly. Oh, this was what I was thinking about. Bathrooms. I pre-top surgery right now, no matter really how I dress, am less likely to get assaulted in a women's restroom. Post top surgery, I am more likely to get um, assaulted there. So, like, I'm gonna switch like gendered restrooms when I don't have a gender neutral option, dependent on how I am presenting and how I am perceived to society. So, like, do you want men, like full men with muscles and pecs, who have this testosterone in their body and who don't have breasts and who maybe have had bottom surgery as well and have male genitalia? Do you want them in women's restrooms just because they were born with XX chromosomes or some other factor of quote unquote femaleness, whatever?
No, and I haven't made any argument that would suggest otherwise.
That's why I'm asking. Like, I do want to understand. Like, that's why I'm asking questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all that I am is a language functionalist. You can come up with completely new words and definitions, and if they serve a useful purpose, then I'll say, yeah, that's cool. It's integrated into the language. If they contradict or devalue or destroy the function of language, I'm going to be opposed to that.
Okay, but your whole stance regarding trans people is the fact that they're not passing sometimes.
Sure, meaning they don't meet the socially understood criteria of what a man or woman is.
But many cisgender people don't either, and they're the ones getting hurt in restrooms.
Yeah, and my argument has nothing to do with people getting hurt.
I'm just saying
If
it's
you
your
want to accept
standards that are getting people hurt.
Exactly. You have to think of the results of your beliefs and how they're implemented.
Wait, would
Yeah,
this
anyone
mean
who
that
believes what I do.
would this mean that societies
Go
could be
ahead.
right or wrong based off of their ability to define men and women correctly? Because I would just take
It
that as
means that
ridiculous.
societies can be consistent or inconsistent. You know, if you want to come up with like some of these other cultures we're describing, you know, we're going to have a gender that is exclusively people with orange hair under 5 feet tall. That may be a very silly way to categorize gender, but at least someone from the outside could figure out who falls into that category and who doesn't. That definition excludes things.
Because it's based off of culture, meaning like time period and location and what they believed in that time period and location. So it's definitely different.
It could be the case that somebody from Scotland who grew up, a couple hundred years ago, where kilts and long hair were common for men, they could go into modern society and see women wearing skirts and having long hair and be confused. So
Of course.
like
But
it,
I don't think someone from Scotland or the reverse, you know, would see a man with short hair wearing pants like me and go, "Oh, that's not a man." Just like if some Scottish guy came in yelling "Scotland forever" with long hair and a kilt, everyone would still go, "Yeah, that's a man." I mean, it's funny that he's wearing a skirt because we don't do that, but that's clearly a man.
yeah, I mean, we could. I could tell you to imagine if you can, because I know not everybody can have visual pictures in their head.
I can rotate the apple in my head.
Okay. I could just tell you to picture a man woman wearing a dress, and what you can still clearly know that it's a man. But from like an outside perspective, if we are looking completely neutrally, Even like the definition of an adult human female, we would have to know. Like, you'd probably have to give examples of somebody of adult human females before they would even be able to catch on, if they had absolutely no idea beforehand.
I mean, I think that the differences between men and women are great enough that virtually every culture recognizes men and women. While some cultures may add a third, fourth, fifth gender, and so on and so forth, they still categorize over 90% of their population as man and woman because of those very strong, virtually immutable differences.
Which
we're not.
we're not saying that like there's this large population of trans individuals or gender nonconforming individuals, because even in our society we're 0.95% of the population, and we don't expect that number to get any bigger or much bigger if it does.
Yeah, it's not a huge percentage of the population, so most of these cultures are going to have, if we're talking about like third genders, generally they're going to have small proportions, it seems. That's just based off of our just looking at history and what they in other cultures from around the world currently.
Yeah, so I hear the points being made here, but to my knowledge, those genders were still identifiable.
As they are today.
And so,
right?
Yeah.
Identifiable without the self-identity of the individual?
How are
We
they
all
identifiable without that?
even
in
you
the past?
yourself self-identify.
Period. Somewhere.
Sure, I self-identify, but I also don't need to. Anyone
See,
could
here's
look
the
at me.
thing, Tomcat. Let me just ask you something, because at least when it comes to transgender people's identities, I can show you evidence, peer-reviewed evidence, that transgender people exist and that their brain sex is closer to their gender identity. I'm going to ask you, are you a heterosexual man?
Sure.
Prove it objectively.
Oh, you can.
So you get to self-identify, and it's okay. But we need to prove it, and I can prove it.
Sure, because we're talking about outright proof. You could prove that I'm a man if you wanted to go and, karyotype me and pay for that. You could prove
That would prove if you're genotypically male or female. Typically male or female.
It would be hilarious
Cole,
if he was an XY man.
moment.
Sorry, that's all.
Just a minute, Cole. Because when it comes down to it, have you been karyotyped?
No, I don't need to be.
Okay. And I'm not saying that you do need to be, but I'm just saying that do you know what your chromosomes are?
Yes. Yeah, I can reasonably assume that.
You can guess, but you cannot know 100% without being karyotyped.
I think I can guess with about a 99.999% accuracy, given that I exhibit a huge
You do realize
amount
that intersex people account for about 2.1% of the population, so the 99.999 is an exaggerated stat.
I disagree. I think those people, many of them, are going to fall somewhere in a more ambiguous zone, given that their intersex characteristics are going to be
But you're
displayed
saying that it's 99.99999% of the population. However, it's one.
I'm saying with
Tom,
99.999%
He's
Tom,
so
Cat,
overspeaker.
it's about 1 in 50 people.
Yes, and I'm referring to myself based on the characteristics that I possess and exhibit.
Right, but I mean, without being karyotyped, you literally cannot know what your chromosomes are. Because I can level with you. Because I can level with you personally. My chromosomes are probably XY, but I've never been karyotyped, and I'm not going to say that they are XY because I've never been karyotyped.
Yeah, I would say that they are. We can make reasonable, assumptions based on a preponderance
Not without being karyotyped.
Yes, but I'm not saying outright proof. I'm saying beyond a reasonable doubt. Those are
But
different.
here's the problem, Tom. I'm a woman of science, so I need that scientific evidence. I'm not going to go off of this assumption that I'm probably this, because you're probably right. I'm probably XY. But until I get karyotyped, you cannot say that I'm definitely XY.
Period.
Yeah, prove that I'm not God.
A lot of the points. Sorry.
That's
That's actually possible.
Funny that you mentioned that.
We
You
can
cannot
do
prove a
that.
negative.
Yeah, exactly. The burden of proof is not on us, it's on you. And secondly, Summer, You are making all of the points that are coming into my mind, but saying them before I can say them, which is lovely. I'm so glad I found you. Thank you for coming out. That's all for now.
Yeah, the problem is in our daily lives, there is no way to get to absolute proof. We can't karyotype everyone we meet. We can't demand some kind of absolute scientific proof. The world would never function.
And if you
What
saw
we
me in
need-
public, you would not be like, clearly that's an XY individual.
I am not going to go there. I
Prove
try
to
to
me
keep
that
things
you're-
professional.
Tomcat, I'm telling you right now, my measurements are 42, 36, 48. You're not going to see me as male in public.
Period.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Prove to me you're a man. Tomcat.
Tomcat, you in good faith, you would not see me as a man in public.
No, respectfully, I don't agree.
Are you just doing this to be an asshole on the internet? Because I guarantee you wouldn't be this brave in public.
I would. I'm consistent across internet and personal, but you're the one who brought the debate.
Is that
here.
why you're not showing your face in your profile picture?
So I'm not sure why you saw the need to show your face in the first place.
Because I'm
you brought
confident in
up this
myself.
question.
I don't need your affirmation for my identity.
Okay, that's great. That's wonderful. Confidence is phenomenal.
And Tomcat, what are trans women?
I would say by and large they are men who identify as women.
Prove it.
Okay, most of them are.
Tomcat, no, we're not doing this semantics argument. You made a claim. Burden of proof is yours to fulfill, and I'd like a PMID or PMC source.
The claim, if a host wants to put it on screen, is that you believe, what was it? You can
Trans women are
Totally.
men who identify as women. That's what he said.
exactly that's the verbatim. Thank you, Summer. We will hold you to that and see how you follow.
Sure. I don't think I need any kind of peer-reviewed source. I can just.
Yes,
go
you
based-
do. Yes, you
No, I
do.
do not.
I
Tom,
don't.
are you here to debate?
Sorry.
Tom, are you here to debate?
Absolutely.
You made a positive claim. Burden of proof is yours.
Sure. My claim can be deductively proven based on looking at the actual definition for what a trans individual is.
That is an appeal to definition fallacy.
Yeah, it's appealing to definitions. So definitions are descriptive; they change over time, so they're not objective. You can't use a subjective thing to prove something that's objective.
You're looking at
if
somebody
you
who's
just look at
debated
one
over half.
case.
You're looking at somebody who's debated over half of her life. You cannot beat me in logical fallacies.
Yeah, there's no logical fallacy made here. Referring
Yes,
to an
there
actual
is.
definition
Yes, there is,
not a
because you're
fallacy.
trying to go off of that definition, which is made by linguists, not scientists. When you're going off of that, you have to not just have
Well,
one
because
definition. You have to
scientists
include
aren't going
no,
to determine the outcome.
Tomcat. If you're going to use one definition, you need to use all definitions. That's what the appeal to definition fallacy is, because what you're wanting to do is pinpoint adult human female as the term for women. However, that's only one cherry-picked definition.
Again, I don't see how there's a logical fallacy being made here.
I can show
In
you.
order to be
The
trans,
logical fallacy is the appeal to dictionary, the appeal to definition fallacy. So I will bring that up here.
you can bring up whatever you like. In order to be trans, you must first be something other than what you claim to be.
Oh,
No.
according to what evidence?
Something
According to the
incongruent
definition.
with your sex.
Tomcat,
I
Really,
can
according to
prove
what?
that there
hold
are
on,
no
Cole.
married
Hold on,
bachelors
Cole.
by utilizing the same meaning.
Tomcat, you made another positive claim. Burden of proof is yours to fulfill.
Sure, it sounds like you don't want to hear it, though. I mean, you just like to make yourself sound
See,
smart.
here's the
by
problem,
saying,
though.
"Here it
You're
is."
wanting to subscribe to dictionary definitions, and you know what's wrong with appealing to dictionary definitions? You're gonna want to cherry pick only one definition, because if you're going to use, if you're going to use the definition, this is a fallacy because dictionaries don't reason. They're simply a reflection of an abbreviated version of the current accepted usage of the term as determined by argumentation and eventual acceptance. In short, dictionaries tell you what a word meant according to the authors at the time of its writing, not what it meant before that time, after, or what it should mean. Dictionary meanings are usually concise and lack the depth found in an encyclopedia. Therefore, terms found in dictionaries are often incomplete when it comes to helping people to gain a full understanding of the term.
Okay. So again, if I was trying to oversimplify or something here, we can make an argument. But the problem is some arguments are necessarily by definition. I can prove to you that a bachelor cannot be married by referring
Okay, then what
to
is a trans woman?
a trans woman is someone, a male, who identifies as a female or as a
Incorrect.
woman.
So do you think sex and gender are the same?
I think they are very largely linked.
That's not what I said. Do you think they're the same?
I answered your question. I said they are very largely linked, which means they are not one-to-one, but they are inherently and strongly
Are
connected.
all females
Yes or
women?
no?
The vast majority are.
Based on?
Yes or no. Can you understand that? Yes or no. It really is a yes or no
I got this
question.
goal. I got this one. So Tomcat, when you say most females are women, what do you mean?
I mean that most people who are biologically female meet these social conditions to be identified as women by the large population of people around them.
So Tomcat, are you you said you're attracted to women, right?
Generally speaking,
So you're attracted to 5-year-olds?
not at all.
But you said females are women. So
Sure.
you're attracted
What
to
I'm
women.
attracted
So
to is more
you have the
specific.
potential of being attracted to a female infant. Because you think a
Not
female
at all.
infant is a woman.
This is where we get into arguments in purely bad faith. You're trying to pin me on something that I clearly don't believe.
It's rich that you're complaining about arguing in bad faith when you've been going off of the appeal to definition fallacy.
Again, not a fallacy. The fallacy
Yes,
is
it is.
contained.
It is a
I literally
fallacy.
showed you the logically fallacious website.
Yeah, it says appeal to definition using a dictionary's limited definition as a term, or a limited definition of a term as evidence that the term cannot have another meaning, expanded meaning, or even conflating meaning.
And not to mention, you're complaining about me arguing in bad faith, yet you made positive claim after positive claim, and you will not provide evidence for it.
Again, there's no evidence needed for a purely deductive argument.
So if I were to say,
Then you're not smart enough for this debate.
So if
That
I were
is
to,
so
hold on.
ironic.
And I will admit, that is an ad hoc on my part.
Yeah, and let's let the host hold your feet to the fire right
well,
now.
that isn't ad hom. You have an argument. That's just a personal attack at that point because you have an argument. It's not in place of an argument. So it's actually just a personal insult. To be clear.
Sure. Now, I would love to
And
go
Tom,
back to
I will-
actually discussing these issues as we were, but trying to pin me on somehow I like 5-year-olds is absurd and childish. It shows that you're not here in good faith.
It's rich that you're complaining about bad faith debates. Because I will tell you right now, I'll make a positive claim and I will prove it just to show you how it works. Brain sex in transgender women is shifted towards gender identity. Do you agree
That what? That there is a
that their
somehow.
brain sex is shifted towards their gender identity?
Sure.
So you agree that brain sex in transgender women is shifted towards their gender identity?
Sure.
So Tomcat, let's see if you can catch.
So
why
then, how are
you're-
trans women not women?
Because what your brain interprets and what you feel, even if it may be scientifically measurable, does not equate to an
Interesting.
external
I've got
reality.
another study for that one too. What if I was to tell you that there are brain structures that actually show that transgender women are more closely linked to female?
It wouldn't hold any weight whatsoever.
Yeah, that
Why?
gets into like transmedicalism though too. which
Because
are-
what your brain says you are does not mean you are that thing.
How
That's
so?
the leap in logic
Wait,
that you're making.
Is
Your
your brain
brain
part of your biology?
Sure.
Oh, so then
Tomcat.
your brain is part of your biology, and your biology defines your gender.
If
Therefore,
your brain feels
necessarily
that you're
follows
tall,
that your
does
brain
that
defines
make
your
you
gender
tall?
as well.
No, not at all. Your brain defines your experience and your internal feeling of gender, not your external gender.
What if I was to tell you though, Tom, it was part of your autonomic nervous system, so it's not something that you can consciously influence?
Doesn't matter.
Then how are you complaining about me arguing in bad faith?
Science
Because
doesn't
none of
lie
these
and
none of
stuff.
these sources that you're pointing to actually tell me that anyone is a woman. It just tells me that they're genuine in their claims. Not truthful, not correct, but genuine.
What do you mean by
Okay.
not correct in their claims?
Because I can show you studies that show that schizophrenic people really do experience
That's
hallucinations.
different.
Voices.
Let's not be
That
able
So
doesn't
Yeah,
mean
you,
the
but
voices
so
are
Tom, do you
externally
know the difference
Tomcat.
between
bring up disabilities.
do you know the difference between an associative and a dissociative mental disorder?
I can reasonably infer the differences.
Then how can you make the comparison between things like being transgender and schizophrenia?
Because the fundamental comparison still holds true. What your brain perceives as reality does not equate to reality. We're just
So
describing perception.
just so I
whether
can
it be
steelman
associative
you,
or
just so I can
dissociative.
steelman you properly, you think that being transgender is a delusion.
By definition of delusion, yes.
Prove it with medical evidence, please. Delusion is a medical claim, by the way.
Sure, I would say by the definition, the commonly understood
The appeal
social
to definition fallacy. Try again.
Yeah, the medical institutions currently do not agree with me. If we're going just by what the commonplace beliefs are, then of course there's going to be sources backing you up. That doesn't make you right. What you have is a very mid-wit approach to arguing. You
You
know
just
enough to know that you're a little bit smarter than the average person. You don't actually understand the lines of logic that you're
Oh.
reading down.
Wait, so Tomcat,
Summer
they,
has been
Interesting.
very educated, and I just need to say that. Oh God, fucking ADHD.
Sorry.
I hate it sometimes. Y'all are good, but give me like 5 seconds. Let me see if I remember.
you do know,
Okay,
Tomcat,
I
that
don't. I'll let you go.
the DSM-5 or the DSM used to classify
That's what I
transgender
was
as
gonna
part
say.
of being a mental disorder, but now it doesn't. Why do you think they did that?
I think they did that to accommodate something that was becoming a social movement.
I
Do you
think
know
that
who
you
led the
don't
DSM-5?
Can't prove it.
Hence, I just think that you're dismissing science. That was my general point earlier.
That's exactly what he's doing. And I'm going to try to, I'm going to actually dig into his appeal to definition fallacy here. So what is a woman?
An adult human female.
What are all the definitions, or is that the only one that matters?
Sure, there's other definitions.
Oh,
Okay, I have one here from Cambridge. An adult who lives and identifies as female, even though they may have been considered to have a different sex at birth.
Yeah, I think that definition can be ruled out because it's nonsensical and not functional.
This is what I'm talking about when it comes to the appeal to definition fallacy. You think that words have to have a subscription, not a description. And
I
on
think
top of that, you want to cherry pick your definition. Because if you're
I
going
want
to
to
use
pick my
use dictionary definitions, Tomcat, you cannot just limit yourself to one. You have to use all of them.
Period.
the
No, I
only way
don't.
that you
There are
could...
some definitions that are more apt than others.
Get off this panel.
You don't understand what you're actually arguing. It's very funny.
So
The
here's the thing
gaslighting
too,
is real
Tomcat.
because I actually can provide evidence for my claims, yet you have yet to do so.
Yeah, you can point to a paper written by someone else that confirms your worldview. That doesn't mean you've actually put any thought into
And
this.
what I
is-
would be sharing with you is peer-reviewed research.
Exactly. The difference is our science is based on good ethical practices that are repeatable in science throughout time, and we've deconstructed the ones that are done by doctors with bad intentions or very extremely biased intentions, like John Money, and we can separate those invalid researches from. I know I'm making poor sense, but we can differentiate that from what is valid, what was done in an ethical manner and is repeatable and doesn't have too many variables that are out of place, all that good stuff. So it's the type of research. We could go source for source, but the difference would be the methodology and things of these research articles between sites.
Because
Yeah, the problem isn't
Tomcat, when
merely
it comes down
going
to it, I
source
can
for
provide PMIDs. You cannot.
Yeah, because your argument is nonsensical and you require them. Mine don't.
How is my argument nonsensical when it has evidence to back it up?
Because the
Hold
evidence
on.
that you're claiming doesn't actually defend your position. It only defends if your
How do you
argument
know
was
that when you've never seen them before?
You're
I've seen them
talking about
before.
a nonsensical argument
Oh.
when your argument is logically fallacious.
So what is the
are
brain
you
sex
what are you
and-
on? What do
So
you want,
Tomcat, what does the brain sex and transgender women shifted towards gender identities show?
Let's see. To my knowledge, it was simply
Do not
that
let Raul reel up. He sends unalivened threats to people.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. You
I've
shall
seen-
notify
Echo
the
has evidence of
threats.
this.
He's doxxed. He's sending alive threats. He's definitely a GC.
That's
But,
a
like,
lie. Then why does
definitely
Echo have evidence of
well,
that?
so-
Raul reel.
Yeah.
Was
we
it?
don't-
Oh, wait, it wasn't unalivened threats. You wanted to assault people.
Oof.
Okay, so I can mute or you can mute if you want, but yeah, he's definitely not. I mean, if you want some traffic, maybe, but like
Provide
this account
evidence.
doesn't
Raw
have a
real.
lot.
Echo
so
has the
I
evidence.
just
Yes, please.
also one at a time. So patience. That too, but just brief interjection.
Okay. Ross said being an adult is being an adult is biological. That's diabolic. That diabolical. Ra also said that being an adult is biological tonight. Oh my god, that is a lot to unpack.
well,
And that
aren't
some
there
15-year-olds would
multiple
qualify as an
definitions of
adult.
So Tomcat, let me ask you this again because I don't think I ever really got a good answer. Why do you think that the DSM-5, which was led by the part that deals with gender dysphoria, why do you think that they changed they pulled gender dysphoria from being like a mental illness that was like considered the same as other what we would consider like sexual delusions, when it was led by somebody who was very much critical of trans people, who even has supported things such as arguing for conversion therapy, which is, I don't know if you know what conversion therapy is, but it's absolutely horrific. So why on earth would they move it out from this category if it was led by somebody who was against transgender people pretty clearly?
Yeah, to my knowledge, there's no one dictator of the DSM. There may have been voices like that or people who were at the top, but at the same time, I think this was largely done in servitude to a mainstream narrative.
Do you have evidence for that?
According to what evidence?
Transphobic narrative.
Yeah, you're basically alleging that doctors of severe misconduct. You better have evidence for that.
Sure.
So where is it?
So are you going to start providing evidence for your claims, or are you going to just complain
I've
about
been doing this whole
arguing in
time.
bad faith?
Because
If you're
the
asking me
DSM-5
for
actually
evidence
says why.
from the people, you're not going to get that. You'd be making an absurd request. Show evidence from these people that you're accusing that they're bad and acting in bad faith.
I can do it right now. What you're doing right now is avoiding your burden of proof.
Oh, so
I'm
you want me
happy
to
with
tell you why that these people are bad? I spent like literally hours the other day looking at Kenneth Zucker. I'd be more than happy to go over some of the information about him if you would like.
I don't see how that's relevant.
Well, it is relevant because you asked me to provide evidence of why I don't think that they're good faith.
Here's one thing I want to say. He said he's seen these studies. So what does the study regarding brain sex and transgender women and shifting towards their gender identity? What did that study say?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it showed that there were differences in the brains of transgender individuals that were more closely aligned with what they claimed to be than what they were assigned at birth.
In regards to what?
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't have the study memorized. I don't have the parts of the brain memorized.
You feel free to go off app and find it
Are you
for
talking about Swab's study by chance in regards to the bed nucleus of the Strinus terminalis?
Again, I've read through a couple of these studies. I have none of them memorized. I understand. In fact, we're not in disagreement that there are studies that exist and that they show the evidence that there are brain similarities.
And
The only thing we disagree on,
the fact that they're peer reviewed research, they're peer reviewed and on the National Library of Medicine.
Yeah, and it doesn't actually defend your argument at all.
So,
How?
Tomcat, what are confounding factors? In order to actually be able to read like scientific papers, you do need to actually know some things such as confounding factors. So what are confounding factors?
Yeah, those are, if I remember correctly, like distorting factors, things that are external that can skew the results and measure something other than the variable you were intending to target.
Okay, just making sure. Because a lot of times when I ask this, people are like, what? So that's good that you actually know that's a thing.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the fundamentals of the scientific method and things like that. The problem is I'm making an argument that is fundamentally rooted in definitions. Because when we're talking about what is a man and what is a woman and who qualifies and who doesn't, we are talking about definitions.
Yep.
Science can play a part,
Yep.
these things can play a part,
Yep.
but an argument about definitions is necessarily going to refer to definitions.
Yep.
But so then
So what is
you
a
don't
female?
actually really have an argument at that point because you
So,
getting into
Tomcat,
definitions is not, if we don't agree on a definition, like I don't have to accept your definition.
You
So,
don't.
Tomcat.
That's cool.
And there's
So,
no way that
Tomcat,
you
what
prove
is a
that your
female
definition
then?
is right.
Let's play the definition game. Tomcat, what is a female?
If I remember correctly, I don't have the definition offhand. It's it has to do with being able to produce small gametes. There was a couple other criteria in there. I don't have the definition offhand, but it is a biological definition.
Of or denoting the sex that can produce large immobile gametes.
Yes,
What about
And how do transgender women not denote to that?
because they don't look like women, generally speaking.
Oh, so
They
if
do
they
not
look like
denote.
women, then they are female.
If they
Well, if
look
we're
like
going off of
if
that
they
definition,
pass, they look like
denoting.
women. If they pass to your standard, then they're women. Got it.
Oh well, welcome to the ally. Unaware ally. Plot twist.
No, the definition of denoting is to be a sign of or to indicate. So they would need to indicate belongingness to that group. We agree on the definitions, and it seems that we're agreeing on the interpretation of them as well.
What group do I like?
So you're saying I don't. So you're not just trying to hurt my feelings and saying I don't denote.
Exactly. What gender do I denote to you? And what gender would other people like Summer denote to you? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're going to denote or belong to one of the two sexes. You are going to look like and have characteristics like that.
Then what
When
about
it comes
me?
to looking at, a little profile picture or no profile picture at all and hearing only a voice, it's possible to evade that categorization. I haven't seen you. I don't know, and I don't want to go up and
Belsky,
just
can I
run
get the
around
big screen for a moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it?
This is literally a picture of me from less than 2 weeks ago.
That's a whole ass woman right there. Sorry. I mean,
All right, do you actually want to go down this path?
Do it. Let's see what you gotta say.
Yeah, I would look at the hips first and foremost. That's definitely
Which are
not
even
female
with the
proportion.
shoulders. Look at that.
Yes, but there's no curvature there. You have a male hip structure.
I also have hip dips. Are you saying that women with hip dips all of a sudden are not female presenting?
No, because there's other traits around that.
There's other traits around that.
No,
So
I'm
you
not
think
saying-
that because
I'm
I
saying
don't
in
have...
this case, in the instance
And
of
I
this
told you
image-
flat out that I have 48-inch hips. So, like, what's your shtick here?
Yeah, sorry, you don't look like a woman. Like, I made an active effort to try and avoid
You
making
don't
things
look like a
personal.
woman. You're so full of shit, Tomcat. You'd be talking to me at the bar.
No, I would not. Like, I think my point is being very well made here, and I'll be quiet. You are doing the heavy lifting for me.
You're an asshole. You know that?
That's a whole ass gorgeous woman right
I
there.
literally did not get mistaken as a man in public ever. You're just a piece
People
of
are
shit.
generally polite.
Wild for thinking that, in my personal
Tomcat,
opinion. That
I
is
go through life as a
far-reaching.
woman. Literally nobody has an issue with that.
Okay.
Not even
then
my
you
own
wouldn't
family.
need studies. You wouldn't need any evidence. Everyone would just believe you.
You're so full of shit. You're complaining about me arguing in bad faith. Bring Spooky up here. Let's go through the definitions, Tomcat. With Spooky.
Yeah, when it comes to what something that is meant for other people to identify you as, it's like people who are 5'11" saying, "No, really, I'm
So
tall.
Spooky,
I'm a tall
he
guy."
thinks that colloquially women have all females are women.
All females are women? Every single female is a woman?
Well, some are girls. There's an age requirement in the adult part.
Oh, you didn't say that before.
Just real quick, what is an adult?
By the legal definition, in most places, it's an 18-year-old.
That's an appeal to legality. That's logically fallacious. What's an adult?
That is social as well. That is not a biological thing.
Yeah, so it would only be an appeal to
yes,
legality if I said, therefore, that's the only correct definition. I merely said this is the legal definition, and here it is.
Well, you can't appeal.
I
to
thought you
the
only went off
definition
of
of a
single
place.
definitions of words.
Yeah.
So you're not coming from a place of objectivity, just subjectivity, right?
There's no
Just-
objective standard of what an adult is.
There's no objective definition of what a woman is either. Holy shit, you might be getting it.
Absolutely pure objectivism? Maybe not, but we need to exclude something. There's no objective definition of what tall is. Just because some things exist subjectively or on a spectrum, just because gray exists does not mean there's no such thing as black and white. Because you can point to some interesting cases or some unique people or things where the definitions get a bit blurred does not mean there's also not a core to that definition of things that fit neatly within them. It's a distortion of language, which is really all the transgender argument boils down to.
Oh, is it now? So then why is there scientific evidence against you?
There's not. There's none.
There's not?
So
There's
all
not?
the doctors are wrong? All the...
So hold on. All of these medical and
almost like
scientific
I said
institutions
once.
are wrong, but you're right. So Cole, hold on. So the American Psychological Association, the American Association of Pediatrics, the University of Utah School of Pharmacy, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, Boston Children's Hospital, Canadian Institutes of Health Research, Yale School of Medicine, Harvard Medical Schools, the Williams Institute, the Council of Europe, which includes the WHO. You're right and they're wrong?
Because they haven't actually said anything about what a woman is. They've merely studied the brain structures of people who identify as them.
It's a lot more than just
Data
brain
that they
structure.
have.
So disingenuous. Tomcat,
Wait,
do you have one medical or scientific institution that agrees with you?
That's an appeal to authority.
No,
he
it's
just
an
brought
appeal
up
to
brain
expertise.
scans. He just brought up brain scans, though.
So, Tomcat, you have avoided burden of proof. You have done the appeal to the dictionary definition fallacy. And now you have the gall to complain to me about appeal to authority.
Because that's quite frankly all your argument is.
And it's not even...
The funny thing is, when I'm able to provide evidence, that's not an appeal to authority.
And they're also experts in the relative field that we're talking about, so they're actually experts. If I were to appeal to a mathematician about how to do a problem, that's not an appeal to an authority, that's an appeal to expertise. We do it all the time.
Well, and here's the thing. When it comes to appeal to authority, insisting that the claim is true simply because a valid authority or expert on the issue said it was true without any other supporting evidence offered, that would be the appeal to authority fallacy.
Absolutely. When you'd say, look at this.
Tomcat,
look at
the funny
all
thing
of
is,
these
Tomcat,
institutions
I'm able to
disagree with
supply that supporting evidence. You
it. None of
can't.
it is supporting evidence.
According to what? According to what?
You
According
just brought
to
up
any-
brain scans yourself. What did they
Yes.
find during those brain scans?
They found that trans people were by and large being genuine in their claims.
Okay,
But you
so
think it's a delusion.
Yes, because you can hold
Wait.
a
According to which medical or scientific institution?
according to the common understanding of the word delusion.
Oh, well, so
Delusion is a
has
medical
it's
term.
a medical term, yeah, I was about to say.
if they can prove it with brain scans, how are they freaking delusional?
What are they proving?
You just said
Brain
that they're being
structures.
honest with who they are.
Okay.
Brain structures, and I told you that some of these structures are part of your autonomic nervous system, making it an innate part of you.
Okay, so then before I identify you as a woman, can I demand a brain scan if that's a necessary criteria?
That's
Why
ridiculous.
would I need to prove myself to
please.
you?
Please.
Because
Do
you're
we do
making
that
a
for
claim.
straight people? Do we make you objectively, scientifically prove that you're straight, or do we just take your word for it?
Before you take off somebody's pants, do you ask for them for a brain scan? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, can you prove that you're straight? Can you scientifically prove that you're straight? Or that
I
straight
think
people
there's
even
some
exist?
kind of sure. I mean, there's
Okay.
probably ways. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure there's differences in brain structure.
Okay, cool. So the
He doesn't
point that I'm
understand what
trying
the
to
primary
make,
source is, Spooky.
trans people have more scientific evidence than you do as a straight person.
They have
All we
none
have to do is
whatsoever.
take your word for it, and people do that for you, but you're not taking other people's word for it. So maybe we should hold your feet to the fire like you do to them.
Sure. Well, I would have to live
Okay,
in accordance.
go
with
prove
that.
your existence.
I don't need to, because no sane and
Well,
rational.
you don't need to, but I need to prove myself.
See, that's
Yes, because
hold
if
on.
we
That's just
don't
special
fall into
pleading.
something
That's just special
Yeah,
pleading,
Tom,
Tomcat.
that's special pleading. Logical fallacy.
Number what? 4, 5? What are we on?
I don't
At
know.
least
Yeah,
number
I-
three.
actually understand
I
how
cover
logical
now.
fallacies work. If I'm allowed to speak, because you love to speak over me and just say, "Look at this institution, science."
Whose live is
You
this?
don't make
And
any
when it comes down to it,
accurate
I don't just provide the
information.
institutions, I provide the evidence of what they say. So that's not an appeal to authority because I am providing
You
the supporting
haven't made
evidence.
an argument of your own. You've merely pointed at science. You've just said, "Look at this source."
Yeah, because
Prove to
when it
me-
comes to scientific claims, guess what? You need to provide scientific evidence. When you say things like something's delusional, guess what? That is a scientific claim.
Okay, so let's slow down here and actually discuss it, because you love to. I mean, what this is just a midwit's guide to arguing. Look at this source. I have a source. You don't. I'm right. You're wrong. It doesn't accomplish anything.
Just say you
When
don't
we
know
talk
how to
about a
debate.
delusion-
Well, if you
You're
can't
free to say
contradict the
that.
science,
Want to do is argue. What
Okay,
Summer wants to do
Spooky.
is compare sources.
Spooky,
let's talk about it.
have I not in good faith pointed out my logical fallacies?
Yeah, and he hasn't been able to prove a single thing that he said. I don't think he's provided a single source or anything like that.
just
Sources
my
are not the only way to
definition.
provide evidence.
Okay, so you're arguing for
when you make a
ceilings
positive
over facts.
claim and we ask you for that source, it is your burden of proof to fulfill.
Yeah, so we
Yes,
need
a
some.
source is not the only way to fulfill a burden of proof.
Okay, but you're relying on a definition, which we've
What else
already
is a
told
way
you
to
why it's
fulfill burden of
logically
proof?
fallacious. So you need to provide a philosophical, logical, scientific, or some
But
sort of
Stotsky-
inductive, abductive, or deductive argument of some form, and
Well-
you have none of it.
Stotsky, let me just ask him, what other evidence would you be able to provide?
Sure, I would go to, let's say, the fact that the very definition of a
Appeal to
delusion.
definition fallacy. Try again.
No, that's not how that fallacy works at all.
How is it not?
All you really have is the fact that the predominant institutions today support your worldview, and you're going to keep twisting the argument so that that can be the only frame.
Well, they used to support your worldview, but then,
See, what you
then the
want to
science,
use is-
you know,
Field, science grows
Yeah, they-
and,
they
and
did
learns
some
and
studies,
changes. It's an
and then-
ever-evolving field.
holy shit, they found out that they were wrong, and they were deeply saddened by it a lot of the times, because, like, we did some horrible things to a lot of children and a lot of people. Like, horrific things, like conversion therapy.
Yeah, and I haven't spoken in support of anything like conversion therapy, but what I am saying is evidence
Well,
of
that's
what
the
someone's
alternative.
brain is structured as, evidence of how your brain is structured, evidence of what you believe, evidence of how genuine that is not evidence of meeting any external criteria.
So, Tomcat, that's the alternative therapy for gender affirming care. It's conversion therapy, basically. And that's about it.
Oh,
No, because there's no conversion being done.
What?
So then how are
Not
trans
with
people
someone that they are
delusional?
outright incorrect is
Electroshock
not conversion.
therapy. Listen, electroshock therapy that is legal amongst the United States of America. Do you think that that is not torture and conversion? Like what?
it's
Yeah,
just
I'm not in
traumatizing them
favor
and
of electrocuting anyone. I am in favor of telling people they're wrong when they are in a state of delusion.
You're wrong. You're not straight. You're in a delusion
See,
right now.
yeah,
Very.
you're delusional.
Well,
Prove to us objectively that you have never found a man attractive.
objectively.
Objectively.
Laughing on mute.
Because
So
see, what we need to do is
we
like,
actually had this
we need,
discussion.
no,
earlier.
Tomcat. In order for you to prove it to us, we need to make sure that we check your pupil dilations, and we need to check your heart rates as we show you pictures of attractive men.
Okay.
iconic.
I'm not sure where you think you're trying to take this discussion. When it comes to a claim of what someone likes or is interested in, me and Stotsky had this
How
discussion.
old are you, Tomcat?
I'm 27.
You sound like you're 52.
Wait. But you said that preferences are subjective. So if somebody prefers to identify one way or another, how's that
Nice
not
Adam's apple. What
just as
Adam's apple
valid?
eats?
Yeah, then their preference isn't invalid. If they prefer to be called tall, then I believe them. When they say I am tall and they're 4'10", I don't. One claim makes it external, the other is purely internal.
Tall is something you can't change about yourself.
Why
Out
not?
of the 5 major sex characteristics, you can change most of them, majority of them, to align with the opposite sex,
Do you have
which
to?
aligns with your gender identity.
Do you have
So I don't
to?
know. That's a symmetry breaker. I don't know if you know what
But
a
do you have
symmetry
to?
breaker is, but that's the symmetry breaker in your analogy right there.
But do you have to?
And Cole, just FYI, you technically can change your height. It's just very expensive and painful to do.
I was thinking about that in the back of my mind, but it's really not good to promote.
Yeah, it's
So
not a great
that's
thing.
kind of what.
But I could see how it for some people can be alleviating of like dysphoria that they have.
Oh,
So,
100%.
yeah, I
Right.
can't say I'm
You
against
said
it.
that there are sexual characteristics that you can change. Do you have to change them to be a woman?
No.
You don't have
No.
to, but some will do to make themselves happier.
Okay. What criteria do you have to meet to be a woman?
Do we need to bring up the Stanford?
Well,
medical
let's go the
definition?
dictionary definition way again here. An adult who lives identifies as female, though they may have been considered to have a different sex at birth.
Great. How can we use that definition?
You can just
In
use it.
regards to transgender people, transgender woman, which I'll bring the dictionary definition for as well, because for some reason you keep fleeting over that one. When it comes to transgender women, they are women who are assigned male at birth. And then, as you can see, under your worldview regarding definitions, trans women can be women because even dictionary definitions support it.
Yeah, any definition can be stretched or manipulated. The thing that I'm getting at here is in
Blah
order to
blah
have a
blah
functional
semantics.
definition,
Yeah. This is why we don't go off of dictionary definitions. Is because they are subjective.
okay, then none of your definitions are true either. I mean, you
And
have
neither are
no
yours.
Ours are just
Great.
more accurate.
what is
Ours-
accurate? What time out? What does that mean? What does it mean
Substantiate
to say a
the
definition is
resource.
accurate?
So we've already
Substantiate that
given
your-
you examples of where your definition doesn't work in other societies, where ours still works just fine. So it actually just better fits for different societies and different different timelines. So
So
in that
definitions are
sense,
functional.
or what?
Are definitions functional? Do they have a use?
Are they descriptive or subscriptive?
Sure, you can say they're
They're-
descriptive.
Yeah, they're descriptive.
Literally in the dictionary, it says that they're descriptive, not prescriptive.
Yeah. So they are.
Yes, but in order
descriptive.
for a word to have meaning, it must categorize something, and therefore it must exclude
So you don't
something
even
else.
agree with the dictionary regarding
Why must
definitions
it?
being descriptive, not prescriptive.
Why must it? What's the logical foul? Where's the contradiction if it doesn't do this?
The contradiction, if it doesn't, is that you are no longer defining something to begin with. In order to define, you must exclude. Defining is to categorize.
Based off of
This
what?
is hilarious. He wants to use the dictionary so badly, but he disagrees with the dictionary's utilization.
Yeah.
Sure, let's look at define. To state or describe exactly the nature, scope, or meaning of, or to mark out the boundary or limits of. To
Tomcat,
define is to
does
mark
the dictionary
limits.
not literally say that definitions are descriptive, not prescriptive?
What does that mean? What are you getting at with this?
You don't even know how the dictionary works.
That means
Anyone
that
use the
words are
dictionary?
made up. It means
No,
that
I'm-
words are fucking made up.
Words are
Yeah.
made up and
That's
they're
how we-
subjective.
And we can use them
Subjective
however.
does not mean arbitrary.
It actually does. That's the fun part. So like there are words that have like completely flip-flopped their definition over time.
Because their utilization has flip-flopped and the definition matched to.
Okay, so society now
Sure.
uses it includes transgender individuals into, categories of men and women. So what's your problem?
Yeah, I believe that those definitions have become functionally useless because they no longer define.
And and what authority do you have in this?
I am a reasonable human being with a brain. You keep referring to authority.
Yet,
Yeah, but you
Can
don't
you
actually,
think outside? Do
like,
you
just
have
don't
any
actually
authority-
have any
what authority
argument.
have
That's
I
part of the
appealed to?
problem. Is that like you just keep
Do
saying, well,
you
the
have
definition,
any
definition,
thoughts that are
definition.
actually your own? Do you have any
Tomcat?
thoughts that are
Tomcat?
unrelated?
what authority
To a
have I
scientific
appealed to?
source. You've appealed to the sources to the authority of many medical institutions.
What is the appeal to authority fallacy?
The appeal to authority fallacy is using an authority in place of an argument of your own.
No, that is not the appeal to that is not the appeal to authority
Functionally,
fallacy.
that's what it is.
No appeal to
I
authority
understand
fallacy is
that's not
claiming
the
that like
verbatim.
a subject matter expert or some sort of government official is the evidence. No, the supporting evidence is the evidence.
Yes, and your supporting evidence doesn't support your claim at all. It's like you still can't
Based
get
on
over
what criteria?
Because we keep circling back to definitions, and you go back to a woman is simply someone who identifies as a woman. That's all your definitions have actually stated. The science has
That's
nothing.
because I don't engage with the stupid appeal to definition fallacy. You don't have any depth. You have zero nuance in your life, and you think that it needs to be this super simple thing because you have not gone past your 10th grade biology class.
That's the fun part about this all, is that you just don't have an argument, Tomcat. You have an argument consists of two things, if you didn't know: a claim and a reason to think that. If that reason to think that is fallacious, you don't actually have an argument anymore.
Tomcat is what is known as a Philbro, and Philbros are some of the lowest demographic on this fucking app.
Hey, I'm
And-
a bro sometimes.
Are you familiar with what a midwife is?
To really quickly, we could give you 10 sources amongst us for what we have claimed so far
And
per
you can't
your
provide
one
one.
singular source.
But you cannot actually articulate them as supporting your argument, so they're useless.
What?
The problem is, I was
I'll
able
let-
to articulate
I'll let
it. You just,
handle it.
I was able to articulate it. You just went, nuh-uh.
Explain how they support your argument.
Because it actually shows and actually describes how, when it comes to transgender people's brains, that they are more closely related to their gender identity.
Okay, we don't disagree with that. How does that prove
We
that
disagree
they are?
with science. Cool.
No. How does that prove that they are women?
It's showing that they're closer to their gender identity.
It's showing that they feel. It's not showing that they are.
Yeah, when I told you that it is part of your autonomic nervous system, how do you feel that? Do you feel do you have a conscious feeling when it comes to your heart beating?
Not generally.
That's because it's part of your autonomic nervous system.
Sure. Explain why your autonomic nervous system should define whether you're a man or a woman. That's the leap you haven't made yet.
I'm not saying it does 100% of the time, but typically speaking, you're going to find that the nucleus accumbens terminalis, or the BSTC, is going to share the same size and structure with that of the gender that you identify with.
Okay. If that's not the case, can I dismiss someone's claims of being a gender that they were not assigned at birth?
The only way that you would be able to do that is by unaliving them and doing post-mortem surgery. Are you willing to do that?
I'm not saying I'm willing to, but is that a necessary condition?
I never said it was necessary. I said it was a typicality.
Oh,
That's what I'm asking you. Is it necessary?
What is necessary in being a female?
No. You're flipping this. I'm asking you a question.
No,
You
you're
can run
you're
on
basing
offense
this
the
off
whole
of
time.
necessity now. So I'm going to go
No,
down this
you can
line.
you
No,
can only
Tom,
play
Tom,
offense.
quit
You
running.
can't play
Tom,
defense. No.
you
I
no,
was on
Tom,
defense this whole
Tom,
time.
Tom,
Nope. Answer my
Tom.
question. What
No,
are the
because
necessary
Tom, you're
criteria that
going
we'll
based
have
off of
to meet?
necessity now. So I'm going to go off of it as well. What is a necessary category in being a woman?
I'm not answering your question until you answer mine.
You've
What
been
is your
pivoting this
question
whole
then?
time.
No, I've been on defense
Okay,
against 3 or 4
hurry.
people the whole
Ask
time.
your question.
Ask your
Sure.
question.
What are the necessary criteria or conditions for being a woman?
Having having a neuropsychosocial schema of that of a woman.
Okay, elaborate on that. That's a big
I
jump.
already told you about the neurological side of it because when it
Okay,
comes
but
to
is that required? Let's drill
It
down
is.
on it. Is the neurological
I never
component
claimed that it
required?
was, I never. When did I ever make a claim that it was necessary?
You didn't. That's why I'm asking you. Is it required?
I never said it was, so no.
Okay, it's not required. Let's go to the next one.
Oh,
The
so
next, you're gonna ask a bunch of
Neuropsychosocial-
questions?
Let's
you get to
figure
ask
out
a bunch of
what's
questions?
necessary.
No, answer
Yeah, you
some.
guys
You
asked
guys
me
can go
100
back and
questions in a
forth.
row.
Let Summer ask one
No,
now, and
we're
then
not.
you
We're
can
not
ask
going
another
back to
one.
fairness.
This
when
isn't
it's
your
against-
fucking
No.
live.
Oh, you're going to complain about
Okay.
fairness when I'm able to substantiate my claims and you can't.
You didn't. Nothing you said substantiated your claims. None of it connected.
How
That's why
didn't
we're
it?
disagreeing on this entire discussion. If it's
Name
not,
one necessary condition to be a woman then.
let's see. Given that gender is a social construct, I would think it's necessary to be perceived by and large as a woman.
Hmm.
That's the only
So
thing
if
that's
You think that's-
so
consistent with the
cisgender
definition.
women, so masculine cisgender women are not women according to your logic.
I think there may be better terms for them.
Like what?
Things like butch, or maybe additive terms. So that's a woman, but that's a butch
That's an
woman.
outdated. Term.
You're talking about adjectives right now.
Yes.
And trans is very different from butch, a woman. Like, I'm a trans non-binary person. I am not a butch woman. Like, make that differentiation for me.
So
please.
Tomcat, when it comes to your necessary that they need to look like a woman, out of your little necessary there excludes several cisgender women.
Okay. That's fine. What is necessary for your definition of being a woman?
Having the
Very
identity that aligns with the female sex.
What does that mean? What aligns with the female sex?
Typically, it would be their neuropsychosocial schema.
And then we go through and debunk that. You don't need to have the same neurology. You don't need
I
to
never
have the
said
same experiences.
But it's going to be a
So you
it's going to be a
use this, but you
typicality.
don't believe it.
See, Tomcat, it's going to be a typicality, though. I never claimed that it was a necessity. I said it was a typicality. And when it comes to biology, guess what? We go off of typicalities.
Do you know why we go for typicalities?
Because if we go off of necessities, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to include some transgender women, or you're going to exclude some cisgendered women.
Okay. So if we're going off of typicalities, then I think it's perfectly reasonable to look at someone who clearly does not look like a woman and reject their claim that they are.
So then, right there, you're rejecting the identity of several cisgendered women because they don't look feminine enough to your standard.
Sure, because if we have
And you
a...
include some transgender women
Oh.
because guess what?
You
They're actually
really
very
enjoy
attractive and
cutting
very
me
passing
off.
individuals.
Wait, hold
and you
on,
consist
Tomcat.
to that.
Hold on, I've got a really good point. So then, why does your definition matter at all if we can't, use it? Because seems very subjective. That it's all based off of what you think.
Well, definitions are generally based off of what everyone thinks. Dictionaries exist to codify what we already know and understand, which is why, like you guys have pointed out, they can change over
And does the
time.
dictionary say that it is descriptive or prescriptive?
It's descriptive. How is this
Interesting.
contingent to your argument?
So wait,
Because
if
then
you're
you
relying
just
on a
admitted that it
definition,
is based on subjectivity, not objectivity.
yeah, if you're relying on a definition that can change, then your argument can change. So it's just not an argument anymore.
Not at all. I'm just
There's a
saying
train
that
wreck.
subjectivity doesn't
I'm a happy
equal
little train wreck.
arbitrary. You guys are making an argument towards purely arbitrary ends. I am
Says the
not.
person whose literal necessary feature for women excludes cisgendered women.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go about it this way. You have on one side, person A is a very, very butch woman, very masculine, leather vest wearing,
That you said we
highly
shouldn't call
masculine.
women, by the way.
Yeah,
Sure,
literally.
sure, a female then, however you guys want to approach it. On the other side is a virtually identical, same dress, same physical proportions, same everything. One of them identifies as a woman, one of them is a trans man. How can we figure out who is who without asking them?
You just ask them.
You
It
literally
takes
just ask
2
them, what's the
seconds.
issue?
No, that's the entire flaw because you're not actually defining something if it's just a matter of self-identity. What you're saying is that's the
You
only
literally
necessary
self-identify
condition.
as heterosexual, so skip it.
Yeah, that's the
No,
same
that's
thing
not
for
how that works.
heterosexuality. It's for preferences, and a whole lot of other things. We do this all the time. You just don't like that it applies to
How would you know somebody?
gender.
Scream just made a point here too. How do you know if somebody is straight without asking? How do you know if someone's gay without asking? How do you know what somebody's identity is without asking?
I've just been
Sure.
waiting for him
On
to prove
those
that straight
ends,
people even exist.
you can observe them.
We can
You can
observe trans
observe them?
people. Holy
Absolutely.
shit!
You could be
Accidental ally
wrong.
moment.
Generally speaking, people
And
have very little
oftentimes
reason
you're
to
probably
lie.
wrong.
If I see someone holding hands with another man, I can't assume they're gay.
What if they're
What
bi?
if they're just a masculine-looking woman?
Yeah, or that.
Well, for one, when it comes to their, who they're attracted to, we can see if their behavior aligns with their claims. Generally speaking, I don't have much reason to doubt someone's claims on that. But if someone claims to be straight, and then you see him smooching a dude out behind the Denny's parking lot, you can say, "Hey, that's not correct."
I'm gonna
But
think of that
you
as a
would need
pivot.
some kind of
That is a
criteria.
major pivot.
Yeah, and everyone
Deflection.
defines their sexuality
I
differently.
can't assume. I can't assume that they're GA white. No, what if they're bi? That's the thing.
They
You
could
have
be,
to ask
but you could
someone,
be
They're
right.
right?
bisexual, or like I mentioned previously, they could be very masculine women. Or one of them is a man with a very masculine woman.
Well, he
Yeah.
wouldn't even consider them women, so who knows what they
Yeah,
would
you
consider
don't even
that
consider masculine-looking
sexuality.
women to be women.
Because we're trying to answer the question of what is a man and what is a woman. The only thing that you guys have actually arrived at and pinned down is it's whatever you identify as.
No,
My
it's
argument against. Okay, then what else? If it's not what you identify as, give me something that I can use outside of
blatant
it's
straw
identity.
a
man policy.
biopsychosocial schema, and you have to include all of those things together.
Then
and not
show me how I
separate
can
them out.
utilize that to identify one without asking them.
Well,
Can you?
why without asking? Because asking is the
Because when it comes down
foolproof way
to it,
do it.
you would have to do you would likely have to do a postmortem study on them. Is that what you want to do?
You said I wouldn't even have to because the neurological component isn't
Because
necessary.
as a respectful individual, you likely wouldn't have to do anything. You can just say okay, and move on, rather than go on over an hour on this weird Philbro spiel on a TikTok live where you've yet to provide evidence for any of your claims.
Exactly, and how
This is
does
the
it
evidence
harm
right here.
How does it harm you
This is
for
evidence.
trans people to
What?
exist as who they are? How does it harm you?
Why does it have to harm me for someone else to be wrong?
You're wrong.
How are you right?
Because my claims align with the world around me.
Oh, appeal ad populum fallacy.
I have such a good question. Can you name some characteristics of what you think a woman is, Tomcat?
Sure. Generally speaking, a feminine outward appearance, wider hips in comparison to men, narrower shoulders in comparison to men. On average, lower height.
A woman with
density,
narrow
lower
hips and
bone
wide shoulders
density.
is no longer a woman.
According to you, I'm a woman, and I swear to God, there are cis men that fit this description as well, and you're calling them all women.
And according to him, I'm a woman as well because I have an hourglass figure.
Period.
Yeah, according to him, Summer, you're more of a woman than I am. So
Absolutely.
Apparently.
Yeah, that's no comment there. If you think you have an hourglass figure, I admire your confidence.
I've literally been measured, Tomcat. I know what my measurements are.
why are you
Why the
acting like you
numbers?
know?
Because I was showing a photo. I have two functional
Yeah,
eyes.
and if you saw me in day-to-day life and you had not talked to me previously, you wouldn't have said shit.
Hey, Tomcat, how do you know that your eyes are functional?
Because they can produce predictable results. If I
Now,
see a pole
how
in
do you
my
know
way,
that?
I can go and feel it. I can confirm it with
Tomcat,
my senses. I can check it with
Tomcat,
people around me.
Tomcat, you see me
And
go
how
into
do
a
you know
women's
that they're
restroom.
real?
Tomcat, you see me go into a women's restroom. What do?
Probably giggle a little bit.
Let's see if you can
Why?
avoid putting yourself into a vat, Tomcat. So how do you know anything at all?
Giant
Yeah,
Adams.
ultimately, there is
Some
no
people
way
are saying I have a
to
giant
know
Adam's
that.
apple. Where is it?
So wait. You ultimately say that you fall into sophicism that you just don't
Yeah.
think that you can know
External
anything?
world
Oh,
skepticism can't be disproven.
I just think that's crazy. Because you can't even know that you even exist at that point, which I would that's
You
ridiculous.
can't.
Why
How do you
John
know that
massive
you
shoulders? Shut up.
Because you could use things such as phenomenal conservatism, where if seemings can be justified, if you have no reason to doubt them. So I can, my eyes seem to work well, and I have no reason to doubt them. So I can trust them. So
I'm gonna grab my phone charger here.
Okay. So this would kind of come full circle to my argument. My eyes are working well. I have no reason to doubt them. And when I see a man, I call it a man.
Okay.
It? I'm
When I
sorry.
see a bi man, I call them a bi man, and you're a bi man.
Okay. I
Yeah.
don't know why you think that's such a gotcha. Is it
Handshake.
somehow, does it make someone less to be bi or gay?
No,
Seems to
course
be what
not.
you're implying. If you're
I'm
going to
bi.
use it as a gotcha.
I'm bi. That's how I can tell that you're bi,
Do you think it's somehow less
and
to
you
be
can't prove to
trans?
me otherwise.
You're right. I can't. We have to make reasonable assumptions. That's what it means to live in the daily world.
This is
And
the man
vast
that thinks that
majority of
you don't need to be karyotyped to know what your chromosomes are.
Yeah, I am a man. I am a male. It's relatively easy to deduce that beyond a reasonable
By
doubt.
what standard?
So wait, hold on. If we should make reasonable assumptions, I'm gonna reasonably assume this conversation's never gonna go anywhere.
Reasonably accurate.
And for the people that keep saying Adam's apple, where? It is
After
literally
like 2 hours, I'm sorry, but I can't do it anymore after 2 hours.
So
Just
valid.
You were talking to him for 2 hours. You should have made him prove that straight people exist.
You both, Summer and Spooky. Hi, by the way. It's nice to meet you. The throat. Wow, that sounds weird. The throat finger thing of like, where is it? Where is the Adam's apple? What are you actually seeing? Actually had me cackling on mute. So thank you. For that.
literally, I don't have one.
Where is it?
Mine's
None.
right there. You can see mine. You can't see Summers.
So fair, and another super valid point. Anyway,
And what somebody's trying to say, why jawline? Hey, real.
Look at Summer's jaw and then look at my jaw.
for real.
Man,
Not
it's
in
like,
a
I'm not.
like-
I'm gonna not. I plead the fifth. When it comes to violence.
Exactly.
Just like this dude would be barking up my tree to
when I say for real
100%.
spooky, I do not mean like you got a quote unquote masculine like facial figure or anything like that. But Summer in comparison, like you both are beautiful in your own ways for sure. I have a more round face shape like Spooky does. But yeah, I just to clarify, I'm not being even when I say like, damn, like Summer's got that femme beautiful face, just like all the other cis women in the world and all the other trans women in the world. That's all. In my opinion.
You can't find your Adam's apple. It's a fitness issue. I don't have much of a double chin either, so try again.
I did let my Twitch.
I do have a
chat
little
know
bit of
for
an
the
Adam's
channel
apple,
to
but I mean,
Summer.
hmm?
I let my Twitch chat know that your Twitch exists. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah, I'm live on Twitch too. Wild. I know. I have a
Oh.
whole 3 viewers there, which for once is actually a
What,
fraction of
that's
the.
what you need to get affiliate. So I mean,
Yeah.
if you haven't gotten that yet.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't cared enough. It's just I do it because I have friends who like using it. But thanks for coming up. I don't know if I'm gonna go on anymore because it's getting late for me here. So
Okay.
you two
But
were
no,
wonderful to
I
come up
appreciate
with.
it. But
You
people
are
like
always
him
welcome up.
are Phil Bros, and they are amongst my least favorite demographics
Yeah.
on this app. Like,
I mean,
at least gender criticals stand on business. People like him do not.
I don't even think he was really a Phil bro that much. He just didn't have an
Did
argument.
you try to get him to provide any evidence for his claims? I don't need to do that.
Not our problem at all. Guess problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody have a good night or good day.
Have a good night.
Have a
Bye.
good.
Have a good. Yeah. Okay.
Bye,
Happy
new
time
friend.
zone, everybody.
Who the hell is Phil? You will never know, Timmy.
Hmm?